Hi, welcome to a new episode of ETRetailCafe by ETRetail. A new day, a new retailer, a new person, a new story. So today we have with us Himanshu Chakrawarti, who is the CEO of Snapdeal. He has been into the retail industry from past almost 23 to 24 years. Oh, I will not spill the beans. Let's ask him. So Himanshu, welcome to ETRetailCafe. Tell me about yourself, how your journey in retail started. Were you always been interested in being a retailer?
Thank you, Charu, and hello everyone. Actually, no, it is one of those things that happened purely by chance. I was in FMCG for many years after campus, and one of my ex bosses, Ajay Mehra, he was leaving this new entity called Trent for some other assignment, and he said that because I'm leaving, would you be interested in the head of marketing position? This is in the year 2000. So it was very interesting because I went there. I said, okay, let me figure this out. So I went and met up with Mr. Noel Tata, and I had known Mrs. Simone Tata earlier because of my earlier stint with Lakme, but I had not met Mr. Tata till then. So when I met up with him, it was interesting because in that meeting we chatted, and in that meeting itself he rolled out the offer, and I went home and I told my wife that look, it all happened so quickly in that meeting that I am moving now from FMCG to retail. So it happened purely by chance. But yeah, I'm happy that it happened by chance and it happened at the time that it happened.
So you must have seen some changes in the FMCG industry to retail industry. How is FMCG different from retail as per your experience?
So FMCG was very exciting. We were with Lakme initially, then it became a part of Hindustan Unilever. That time it was called Hindustan Lever Limited, and I worked with H.J. Heinz and Company, Heinz India. So FMCG at that point of time used to be the kind of job that you wanted in marketing, and both in sales and marketing it was quite interesting because you went to different cities, towns, areas, all kinds of beats. Your retail distribution had to be good. Marketing, if you remember, that time largely used to be print and TV. These both were very important at that point of time, print and TV. Outdoors bit here, there, and of course there's a lot of work. Every new brand, every new thing that you launched, the trade promotion schemes, everything used to be important at that point of time. The scale was fairly small because India in the 90s was not very big in terms of the sizes of the brands, etc. But I worked on brands which were the market leaders at that point of time. So it was a kind of experience which was good. Retail was quite different because retail was more about the rhythm of implementation, more about the customer connect at the last mile, because all your interactions were happening in the theater real time. Every interaction with customer was happening real time. We were in the FMCG industry that time we used to have ORG, they're called AC Nielsen reports now. So we used to all have the ORG reports. They used to come in once a month, and they used to come in for the previous month, sometimes the previous month. So we used to get all the information with a lag, and that too it was not actual talking to customers, seeing what they're doing. We got information on offtakes from these reports with a significant time delay, and from there you go to retail. You launch a collection, you launch a scheme, you launch a promotion, and the results, the customer votes the same day or the same weekend. So it's a completely different chalk and cheese kind of thing. Both have their own huge pluses, but retail is very fascinating.
So your life started moving very fast that way. When you earlier you used to wait for the reports, now the report was then and then in the form of consumers in front of you. So how have you seen the consumer behavior changing from then to now?
I think there are 3 or 4 primary changes that one has seen. One, very importantly, I think the woman customer is far more empowered today than it was they were, let's say, 20-25 years back. And I don't mean empowerment from the point of view of saying whether they have more money or not, but actually making the decision of what is to be bought. And how much money is to be spent and when it is to be spent. And this holds true for definitely for what they are buying for themselves, but also holds true for what they're buying for the kids, and many a times also for what they buy for the men in the family. So that's one huge change. Also, if you were to take snapshots of what's going on. If you were to look at, let's say, from there till now, and if you were to look at the pictures, you will find that the mix of the Western and ethnic has changed in the women's wear, right? So that's the other change. It may not be in the overall sales numbers, may not be so dramatic, but every woman seems to be having a repertoire of both Western and Indian, more of Indian possibly, depending on the age group, but that mix has changed for sure. The second big change that we have seen is that there was a point of time when, let's say, retail was very nascent in India. So most of the experience that people had was in going to the traditional markets. So it can be Linking Road in Bombay, it can be Karol Bagh or Lajpat Nagar or Sarojini Nagar markets in Delhi. But people were accustomed to going to these markets and buying. And from there, suddenly you had the first set of retail stores, shiny retail stores, great ambient lighting, wonderful AC environment, etc., etc. And the products were very well displayed and shown. Along with that, they also discovered the joy of taking escalators, yeah, etc., etc., which all happened at the same point of time. So I think that initial stage of experience that the customers, most of the customers in India experienced, is now the norm. Yeah, they're very comfortable. What we are seeing is that in customers from there to now, we are seeing that it's very natural for customers today. That retail experience is a natural retail experience. They're very comfortable with the malls, very comfortable with these large stores, the way they are arranged, etc., etc. So I think that comfort is quite different from what it used to be, let's say 20-25 years back. The third change that we have seen is that there was a paucity of brands 20-25 years back in the environment. Today there are, for every category, there are multiple brands at play, and forget about menswear, womenswear, kidswear as the definition. Now within menswear you have sub segments and brands are emerging, which is you have brands for nightwear, you have brands for lingerie, you have brands for athleisure and specialized brands, and of course within these you have got all kinds of celebrity endorsed brands, character merchandise, everything that you can think of. So I think there's a lot of change that we are seeing. There's a whole brand play which has happened over the last 20-25 years, which was very small and very nascent at that point of time. The fourth change to my mind, which is quite probably the most significant change from then, is the customer access to real-time information. And therefore today retail experience is just one of the experiences for them. A whole lot of experience on the merchandise that they're having is through multiple methods of digital interaction. It can be through actual purchase, it can be through a site, it can be through social media, and so on and so forth. But there is multiple amount of digital interaction, information, flow, etc. that is taking place. So it is no longer that brick and mortar retail and that experience and the customer planning and walking in. There's too much of other things going on simultaneously.
So the customers want the brand to be present omni-channel, wherever they want to shop, they can shop from. So they are getting spoiled for choices, if I'm not wrong.
True.
So Himanshu, what was the reason behind joining Snapdeal for you?
So for me, it was very interesting because I was doing, I was running one of the chains in Arvind, and then I started looking after the digital business and the house of brands, the newly created house of brands there, and the digital business, now.com, and the digital business that they have. And along, at that point of time, then when I thought of the opportunity of Snapdeal, it looked fascinating. One is, of course, I've known Kunal for several years. Over a period of time, we've interacted. We were on a same panel at one point of time, which is where we met first, but we had been in touch with each other. The whole story of Snapdeal was always very fascinating for me. He was this player which was, started from virtually nothing, became very big, but to me, that was not the story. The story was in terms of everything that happened in the years 2015, 16, 17, and the way that it emerged out of that on the other side as an entity which was different, catering to a different market, creating a different kind of business. So this was the exciting part. And then when we chatted, it became very clear that many of the things that we wanted to create, for example, creating the value lifestyle destination, the finest value lifestyle destination, may not be the biggest, but the finest value lifestyle destination online is something which was quite energizing, and while doing it in a manner that we would make the company and the business profitable.
So, if I'm not wrong, Snapdeal concentrates more upon the Bharat, not India per se. Why is that so, and how is Bharat different from India in your perspective?
So one is the geographical connotation of Bharat, but before coming to the geographical connotation of Bharat that we come to, essentially when the segments were being looked at, one of the primary reasons for the appeal of value lifestyle segment was that this segment is something which is supposed to grow as per all reports very rapidly. And the reason for this is that if you look at current number of shoppers, its estimates are anywhere from 150 million to 200 million or 15 to 20 crores. Now out of this, roughly 50% are people who came to e-commerce, customers who came to e-commerce several years back, people like you, me, who have been transacting for 15 years, 10 years, 12 years, whatever. And then you have a huge rush, 50% of the people who have come into the fold post the geo revolution, who have come into the fold in the last, let's say 2, 3, 4 years, and COVID of course gave it a further fillip. Now this is this current 150, 200 million. The next 200 million, 180, 190, 85 million out of those 200 million e-commerce customers who are already on digital medium but they are not transacting, the next 180, 190 out of the 200 million would come from the value segment. Now, what are the issues with the value segment? The issue with the value segment is, while the size is very large and this will grow disproportionately as we move forward, there's a severe lack of quality in the value segment lifestyle space. There are very few brands, in fact hardly any brands, and most of the labels are of erratic, and in the market again the quality is very erratic, and most customers who have shopped in that range, where you're buying a t-shirt for 300, 400 rupees, a kurti for 400, 500, 600 rupees, you know that the quality is not necessarily too good. So therefore there's a problem to be solved there, and that is what we embarked upon, saying that for this segment, which is buying into the value items for their daily wear or usage, how do we create an experience that is great? So we started curating the merchandise, strong quality parameters, quality checks. Our onboarding rate of sellers is less than 1%. If 100 people apply, only one actually gets in. We then, along with this curation of the merchandise, and it's quite sharp, so when a customer comes to our platform, you don't get to see a t-shirt at 300 rupees and a 999 and a 1999 and a 4999 and a 9999. For this audience, they get to see only the relevant price range. So it will start at 250, 300 rupees, and by and large most of the range would be over by 800, 900 rupees, right? So therefore every item that is there is of good quality and of relevant price range for them. The entire experience for the customer is again great, which is the there are more visual led, everything is much more visual, less of text. The text is very easy English. There are language adaptations available, so we are in 8+1, 9 languages. Many people take the language version, but even who opt for the English version, we use very simple English. There are no complicated words in English. It's largely all visual. Also the experience, there's a lot of hand holding, because many of the customers are first time customers or early customers into this, and therefore address page help, voice prompts coming in, then the option for you to seek help, where if you press that, you actually get connected to an agent who helps you guide through that. So we have built the entire platform on the principle of that the Bharat customer is going to be huge in terms of growth. It has its own unique needs. It needs to be served with the right quality merchandise in a curative manner and in their own language, whether it is voice, whether it is vernacular. The experience has to be for the Bharat customer. Now geographically, what I am describing is largely not in the metros. There is a small component in the metros which is there, but large portion of this actually is in tier 2 and beyond cities. And that's also the reason that almost 3/4 of our sales and customers are in the Bharat, as you're calling it, tier 2 and beyond cities.
Okay. So when you talk about the penetrating tier 2 and tier 2 cities, there must be some challenges that you must have faced. What were those challenges, and how did you guys overcome those challenges?
I think the primary challenge in serving those cities and the market is essentially how do you do the fulfillment to the customers while giving them great service in a profitable manner in the value segment. So, value segment is there in large numbers there. As you are catering to them, you are sending merchandise to them. How do you do it in a cost effective manner which is profitable for you, but also the quality of the service is great. And this actually is the primary problem solve that is required for the segment, and that's the challenge, and that's also therefore the opportunity.
Technology you touched upon, right? So, technology is changing at a very fast pace. How are you adopting technology, and how it has helped you convert more customers?
So we actually rely a lot on technology. In fact, our company's primary base is people who are in the engineering, product, data sciences, which is all tech related fields, right? And we have used it very significantly to solve each of the opportunities or problems that we have. Now I'll give you some illustrations of this, right? Now a large number of our customers, almost close to 70% odd customers, do not use either search or filters. Essentially it means that they either are going through the navigation buttons or they are relying on the home page feed. Now therefore for us to figure out what is to be shown to you is of paramount importance, and therefore most of the customers, more than 3/4 of the customers who come in, they do not use either the search feature or the filters. Essentially they are either going through the home feed, the category home feeds, or going through all the navigation buttons. Now this essentially means that what we show you in the feed becomes very important, and therefore for us to guess what, let's say if Charu gets in to see there, how do I make it extremely relevant, and it also needs to take into account your behavior while we are on my site at that point of time, right? So it incorporates therefore all the features of looking at all your past behavior in terms of purchases, the pages that you have visited, the pages that you have clicked, the categories that you have seen, today what you are doing, and therefore it, in a dynamic manner, keeps serving you merchandise or feed which is relevant for you as an individual. And therefore that's extremely, that users gets trained on millions and millions of data points. The algorithms get trained on millions of data points to serve what is right for you. So that's one which is very powerful use case and very important for our kind of segment, where, as I said, if you're using search it becomes easier, but if you're not using search or if you're not using filters, then how do I do a feed on you, reading what you want correctly.
So personalization is what you are doing.
Yes, extreme personalization in this case. See, I can do personalization when you are searching for something, right? If for example, if you are searching for leather wallets, then it's much easier for me to personalize it for you. Here, you're not searching for anything, you've come on the home feed, so what do I show you and how do I personalize? So that's the solve on using training on large scale ML based algorithms, training them to show what is to be shown to you. The other use case is of course very important for us, which is to look at how do we use the technologies to make the entire experience extremely seamless for customers. So how do I make the payment gateway? Some people opt for COD, some people opt for prepaid instruments. How do I make this extremely smooth for the customer? How do we make the products come alive on the platform for you to get to know what this product will look like? Mapping in real time the delivery updates for you. Where is your product? Where is it lying? Has it been shipped? Which location is it lying? Which stage is it lying? So there's a humongous amount of technology that we use to make the customer experience better, to serve them better, and also to give them visibility to what's happening with their orders.
What was the idea behind launching House of Brands? I mean, you have launched a lot of brands under the Snapdeal umbrella, which are House of Brands. So what was the idea behind it, and how it helps you acquire more consumers?
So we actually realized almost 12-15 months back that while we are creating something very meaningful for Snapdeal as a platform, as a marketplace platform, we realized this problem of the value segment not having good quality merchandise is for the entire market. And then that looked like a big opportunity for us. When we scanned around, there weren't any brands around, really worthwhile brands at scale in the digital medium. We understand the digital medium exceedingly well, but we said there's a huge opportunity to create brands which can go to multiple of these platforms. That's how Stellaro Brands was created. We onboarded a large number of people in the buying function, in the design function, merchandising, planning, QC. We have a large team on QC on this. Then the business development function, marketing, performance marketing, in-platform marketing, content and catalog. So we created a large team to create these brands. So each of these brands actually is looked after by a set of people in this Stellaro Brands. And now we have launched some of these, quite a few of them, on some of the platforms. So most of these are now live on Amazon. The fashion ones are also live on Ajio. They're going live on other platforms slowly, like Flipkart and other platforms. Tata Click, some of them are live. So last 2.5 months, Charu, we have made tremendous progress in making them live. Some of them, like Rangita, which is an ethnic wear brand, is emerging as a good emerging brand on these platforms, doing well, very well actually. We are having dialogues with both the Amazon teams, Coco Blue teams, as well as the Ajio teams on how to grow it further. Urban Mark, which is a family brand, which is menswear, women's western wear, and kids wear, and footwear, that again has picked up significantly well. And we have few other brands. We have Nod for deodorants, we have Nbox for smaller electronic items, we have Hometails for the home category. So all these 6-7 brands are going live on the platforms, and this is a great opportunity for us to create a business which is catering to the needs, because the demand can come in from any platform. We want to create the brands which can actually satisfy the demand.
So how many brands do you have under the House of Brands category, and do you have any plans to launch more brands, and in which categories you're planning to launch?
So as of now, we have 7 brands. As I said, we have got Urban Mark, we have Rangita, we have Miyuki, which is a cosmetics brand, we have Nod, which is a deodorant brand, we have Aragma, which is a skincare brand, we have Nbox, which is a small electronic accessories brand, and we have Hometails, which is for the home segment. We will be launching more brands. We are going to launch a athleisure brand, we are going to launch a fitness and sports brand, and so on and so forth. So as we go forward, we will keep launching more brands in the different niches. Currently we have covered the main categories, and now we are going to look at brands coming in for the specific niches.
It's a beautiful story. I mean, one platform, e-commerce platform, Snapdeal, is collaborating with Amazon to launch their own brands. So is this the amalgamation of the brands is what we're going to see in the future? Because lots of brands are going the House of Brands way.
So for us, Stellaro Brands, which is a subsidiary of Snapdeal, as you rightly pointed out, for us, I think it is a great opportunity. And for the platforms, again, look, we do not have any Snapdeal branding on any of these brands. They're coming from a House of Brands. But since we understand the digital medium exceedingly well, right, the collaboration with those platforms is quite easy, because these are brands. They don't have the nomenclature of Snapdeal, it doesn't say Snapdeal anywhere, it is from Stellaro, but we know the digital medium, we know these are great quality brands that have been created, and those platforms are very happy to have these brands. Like they have so many sellers and so many brands, they're quite happy to, in a non-discriminatory manner, have our brands and help us grow like they would do with any good house of brands.
So is House of Brands a new trend in the e-commerce which is going to pick up, or is it going to, how it is going to pan around like?
So I think, Charu, the genesis of this is essentially that it's not as if there are no House of Brands. House of Brands always have been. If you look at FMCG companies, they're all House of Brands, right? But I think in the context that we are saying, the House of Brands, these are essentially digital first brands. So we are saying in the traditional space, brands have always been created in India across sectors, whether it is FMCG, clothing, any category that you take, brands have always been created at scale, very large number of brands. But having said that, for digital first brands, the opportunity is now. Why is the opportunity now? You need 4 or 5 clear building blocks. Yeah, one is you need a multitude of platforms to make it happen. You need technology which can enable you to light up of your inventory and manage your inventory simultaneously across multiple platforms. So that's where entities like Ecommerce come in terms of SaaS companies which provide that solution. Then you need to have a good logistics framework, which means warehousing companies, third-party logistics companies. Again, you have a fascinating growth in the last 3-4 years of wonderful world-class companies which have come up. Earlier, you had only Blue Dart. Blue Dart still is the gold standard, but now you have got so many fascinating new age companies which have come in both in the warehouse space and they have come in the third-party logistics space as well. So that ecosystem is coming into the picture. And last but not the least, as I said, you needed a large number of customers. So the customer growth post the pandemic years in the e-commerce space has been huge. So I think all the factors are now ripe for these digital first house of brands to play out.
So how do you see the face of e-commerce changing going ahead?
I think, as you said rightly at the beginning of the interaction, I think the world is increasingly, interacting, transacting, doing things across multiple mediums, media. And you called it omni, so we can give it whatever name that we want to, but essentially this whole trend of movement towards, let's say, towards using multiple methods of finding out about products, interacting, buying. Like for example, now we are experimenting as one of the first partners on shopping on WhatsApp. So your transaction will get over in WhatsApp itself, right? When I send a communication to you, I can actually create that experience on WhatsApp itself and complete the transaction. So customer will do what they feel like doing. Innovations will happen at scale. Then you will also have technologies or frameworks like an ONDC, which will open up the entire market to sellers, other participants in the ecosystem, the buyers, the buyer platforms, the seller platforms, the logistics, the warehousing platforms, the payment partners, and essentially bring all of them together, create, instead of creating only one-to-one kind of mechanism which is there today, a many-to-many configuration which will come into the picture. And I think it is next 5-10 years, I think India would be the hotbed of so much of innovation that we will see at scale.
When you talk about innovation, one new innovation which is taking the industry by storm is ChatGPT. When the ChatGPT is coming to space at the AI's end, there might be some other innovations also happening. What if technology takes your job someday? What will you do then?
So the happy thing for me is that I have always wanted to run a bookstore. So if it happens, I'll go and run a bookstore. But having said that, I think we all know that these are tools which will come in, which will help improve the efficiencies in the entire ecosystem. And I think in the entire process of this taking place, the jobs will not get redundant, the jobs will get recasted. It's a bit like the movement that took place in the entire cloud space, if you recollect, right, 10 to 15 years back. And people used to run their own data centers. Everybody had their own data centers, and therefore you needed to be at scale to have a great data center. And suddenly then you had these hyperscalers who came in and who said, I am going to offer this as a service to everybody, and the whole movement happened. But what happened with this entire data center people and people who used to work on the technology? We thought these jobs will disappear. They didn't disappear. They in fact multiplied manifold. It's just that they're not doing that kind of work now. They're doing a different kind of work now, which is far higher quality work than probably that they used to do at that point of time.
So how technology is going to change the face of Snapdeal going ahead? What is the future hold?
Oh, we are very excited about anything in technology that can, beyond the gimmicks, but any real technology or platforms and things that come up. Like I gave you the example of Meta and WhatsApp and the transactions that can take place, which is because everybody is using that, right? And when I communicate with you and remind you that maybe you want to buy something along with some other product that you bought. Let's say you bought a let's say kurti, yeah, and I think that along with that you may want to buy some bottom wear, yeah. Now when I send you that, I can the interaction can be so smooth that you don't need to skip out of that, get into my app, land there and do things. It can be seamless on WhatsApp itself. Your transaction can get completed. So that's making it easy for the very easy for the consumers. Then you ONDC I talked about. It's a wonderful piece of open architecture, yeah, where and this is just the beginning. All these real technology pieces. Then you will also have gimmicky technology which will come in, right? But the real technology which is going to make a difference to how customers interact, shop, and the entire ecosystem. We are very excited.
We wish you all the best for the journey ahead, Himanshu. Before we close this discussion, I would love to have a quick chat with you, like rapid chat kind of a thing, where I'll be asking questions, firing questions rather, and you will be answering them one by one without thinking, right? Okay. So, which is your favorite business book that you love to read, and what are the key takeaways from that book?
So I think there are many books, but the one that comes to mind is Fortune at the Base of the Pyramid. This was written by a management guru called Dr. C.K. Prahlad. He's no longer there. He was a professor at University of Michigan. And amazing mechanism of actually telling you that at the base of the pyramid, if you find relevant solutions, there's a fortune to be made. While you solve the problem, there's a fortune to be made as a business opportunity.
Okay, Netflix person or a book reading person?
Book reading.
Why?
I think I love reading books. I also ran a book retail chain for almost 4 to 5 years in my retailing career. It's the space which your own imagination. The world of books is such where you paint the picture by reading. I also love Netflix and all the OTTs, but there you are actually seeing the director's vision playing out in front of you, which is again interesting. But books is fascinating because it's your interpretation of what you're reading and your visual imagery of what you're reading.
So imagine we are in the online business, online e-commerce business to be specific. So where do you shop from, online or offline, and why?
I do both because I love shopping both in retail and online. For all convenience products, I prefer doing online. So, for example, fruits, vegetables, fish, meat, yeah, all convenience products I buy and large. Anything which is more experiential is a mixed thing for me. So, for example, if it is, let's say, fashion, some of it would be online. Good amount of it would be from retail stores. So although I'm working for an online, purely online company, I think I exhibit the behavior like most other normal customers do, which is a mix of both shopping online and shopping in retail, physical retail.
Which is your favorite brand or the retailer, and why?
Favorite retail entity for me is Trent, and Westside is the format. I think I worked there for many years. The ethos is great, and I think it's a truly global retail format coming out of India. It's remained in the same ownership hands. It's not moved. It's been built to scale, and it's been built over last 25 years into a fascinatingly wonderful business, and all homegrown. It's completely homegrown business.
What if you have not been a retailer? What you have been doing?
Oh, the first passion was to go into armed forces, yeah, and post my NDA exam, and I qualified through that, and of course in the SSB and medical I didn't make through that stage, so that's a regret. Otherwise I would have been a fighter pilot in my life, but
so Himanshu, tell me, people know that Himanshu is a person who is weaving a success story for Snapdeal. What are your other hobbies that you do apart from gearing the Snapdeal journey ahead?
So yeah, it's a team journey, but I think from the other things that I do, we discussed books, we discussed OTT platforms, but more importantly along with that, I am obsessed with sports. So watching football is a passion. I am a long distance runner, so I do marathons all the time, short half marathons, full marathons, yeah. So running is a passion, and of course me and my wife, we both like, whenever we get some time, we like traveling and exploring both India and international destinations.
So, from your perspective, the startups which come into the foray, they believe in disruption. When we talk about the traditional brands, they believe in scalability, sustainability, and profitability. So, what do you think is the right way for any brand to go ahead?
See, I think there is no right or wrong way. I think at the end of the day, the board, the investors, the management team, as long as these are aligned on the objectives to be achieved, yeah, there's nothing right or wrong, because there is a set of startups who are disrupting the existing methods of working, and every disruption brings with it efficiency or customer benefit, yeah, or remove some of the pain points that the customers have. So it actually makes the system better, every disruption that happens. Now, in terms of their own economics, it depends on these three getting aligned. If they feel that there's a cost of acquisition and there's a cost of building business, and that's a legitimate method, and even if you make losses, then that's fine, as long as these are all aligned, right? Similarly, the traditional businesses have the thought process, as you're saying, to build business and do it profitably, and there's legitimate mechanism on this also, because the board, the investors there, and the management teams are all aligned on delivering this. But the beautiful part of these two is, if you can bring these two ecosystems together, the sheer energy, the disruptive ability of thinking, the about the entire solutioning from scratch without any background or baggage with you, which is the entire startup ecosystem, and pairing it with the infinite wisdom of the traditional businesses, which is that you do business to make money at the end of the day. If you were to pair these two, then we will have something very wonderful. But I think it's neither either or. I think both the ecosystems exist, and as long as the all the players are aligned, it's okay.
I'm waiting how the retail pans going ahead, and it sounds very interesting, to be very honest.
Yes.
Thank you, Himanshu. It's pleasure to have you over here at Retail Cafe today, and we really enjoyed chatting with you. And you shared the nitty-gritties which I guess nobody was aware of earlier. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. It's been absolute pleasure talking to you. So wonderful to see you in person and chat with you. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you guys for watching yet another episode of ET Retail Cafe. Hope you enjoyed. If yes, please do share this video. Thank you.